here in Shanghai, we have Super Huang, our regional academic consultant, teacher trainer here for Greater China. Even before the pandemic, she was actually doing a lot of online teaching. So it'd be great to pick her brain today. And all the way from Bangkok, like Jessica, we have, and Guy, we have Mr. Del Spafford, who is our regional academic consultant, teacher trainer for Southeast Asia. And I think I've forgotten, you two, how many sessions now that you've done on online teaching and training, but it'd be great for you to share more today. Have you guys got your ELTea Macmillan mugs there as well? Are we branded correctly? We are branded correctly. Fantastic. And Del, what is your drink of choice today?
I've got to say I'm cheating a little bit today because it's I tend not to drink caffeine after 4 o'clock because it doesn't help me sleep. So I've substituted my tea for some Robinsons. Other fruit drinks.
Brings me back to my childhood.
Are available.
Fantastic.
But, Robinsons is a real treat.
Brilliant. And Super?
And it's a very hot day in Shanghai, so I'm just drinking cold water. Yeah, to calm myself down a little bit.
Well, it seems I've become more Chinese than you then, because I'm drinking hot water. So anyway, cheers. And welcome to everyone who's arrived. We got from Cambodia, Bangkok, I see Myanmar, Japan, all over. Absolutely brilliant. Toto is there. Hello, Toto, as well, from Indonesia. Fantastic. Yes. So as I mentioned, we've got a very topical few things to talk about today. We're going into digital teaching skills. So already we've looked at global skills, inclusivity and assessment. So this is our fourth one, and we're going to be skipping through this checklist of points, and hopefully I will manage our two superstars through on time. So we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end as well. Just to let you guys know, we will be talking or using some research data from our recent insights into distance teaching and learning. So this is a global research report. You can find the link to that Insights Index report at the top of your screen there. So a global research report collecting data from over 3,000 teachers from 117 countries, finding out about what their challenges are during the big move to remote and distance learning and teaching. And we'll be picking out a few key core points from that today. So without further ado, are you guys ready to share your digital teaching love with all our Asian teachers here?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
Yep.
Good. All right then. So our first one then, we're going to be having a look at some common global trends. So maybe one of the key trends maybe that you picked out from that global research report. Where shall we start? Super. What do you see as a key global trend then at the moment?
I think one of the key challenges, according to that report, is about communication and collaboration. Because we're teaching language, we're language teachers, so communication is always one of the key goal we'd like to achieve in our classes. But when we come to online, when the classes have to be online classes, collaboration and communication seems to be a very big challenge for all teachers across the world.
And you mean by communication and collaboration between the teacher and the student, or between student and student, or between the parents, or okay.
Yeah.
I guess between.
Mainly in the classroom, communication between teachers and students. At the same time, pre-class communication, after-class communication becomes harder as well.
Okay, we'll come back to then as one of those sort of core challenges and maybe some solutions for that one a little bit later. What about you, Dale? What did you pick out in terms of kind of global trends at the moment? Obviously, this research report was not only for one particular country; it's a sort of global report. So, what did you manage to pick out?
I picked out mainly the amount of teaching online that was going on, and how it was done so quickly. The move to online teaching just happened immediately, it seemed. Looking at the report, the statistics of 2/3 are holding classes online. And that was surprising to me that so many people were doing it. I know people had to, they were forced to, but that they were actually able to just to do it so quickly was interesting to see. And then obviously over half, 55% of teachers found it a challenge to teach from home. So there's obviously a variety of factors that go into that infrastructure. Obviously, working from home is a challenge for some people. Some people it's easier, but it was interesting to see that most people found it, or over half found it a big challenge.
Yeah, but that's a good interesting point there. But on that point as well, there's a lot of positivity, and obviously a lot of people find it quite comfortable. Maybe they were used to online teaching, or they like that change, they like the challenge. Maybe they've learned lots of new skills as well. And do let us know in the chat box as well what positive skills have you guys learned over the last 2 years. We talk about negativity a lot about teaching at home remotely, but a lot of great skills going on there as well. Sorry, go on, Dale.
Sorry, yeah, and just to talk on that, the fact that people teachers were able to move quickly to online teaching with very little training, and usually the training that they did was kind of by themselves, searching for themselves, because everybody was in the same kind of boat. So learning by doing, I thought that was a real positive. And then as you speak to teachers further down the line, they're much more comfortable with teaching online, but still obviously need some support. So that was really great to see.
Okay.
So I think
well, let's move on then. That's perfect. Let's move on to our next part as well. So how teachers are adapting and improving, and many teachers in the chat box are learning IT skills, the software to make classes interesting, flexibility in teaching. There's loads of great things there. What about you, Super? You've worked with lots of teachers over the last year or so, and what kind of ways are they adapting and improving, would you say?
I think it motivates teachers to learn like new things a lot. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I did 2 sessions for teachers to get them started teaching online, because at that time most teachers have no experience of online teaching. And as a previous online education worker, yeah, I am working in the online education industry before, so I provided some experience and some tools for teachers, and they are so enthusiastic for learning these new skills. And after that, they begin to develop their own self learning skills about teaching online, and they're forced to step out of their comfort zone and to learn new things, but they're so self-motivated after that, because they find a completely new area to develop themselves as a teacher in this 21st century skill in this 21st century. And also they find it really motivating and interesting.
Amazing. Yeah, Jim just said there, what did he say? It's the most interesting time to be a teacher. And if you can look at it like that, I guess that's a positive thing, like you say, getting out of the comfort zone at the same time and learning all these lovely skills and building your confidence with online teaching. If you can embrace that, then absolutely fantastic. What about you, Dale, there in Bangkok and in Thailand? What are you feeling in terms of your contact with teachers? What are you hearing on the ground there?
Well, my thoughts are that initially teachers were kind of forced into it, as Super said, and we're really had to be uncomfortable to get better, and it was taking a lot of time. But I think that's now changed, and I think people and particularly customers, and I would say customers, students, are expecting a bit more nowadays because we've been doing it for so long. So initially, I think it was a really steep learning curve, and teachers were, everybody was in it together, and teachers got, and rightly so, weren't expected to come up with, amazing lessons immediately. They were given time to learn. And I think now it seems to be changing a little bit, particularly when I view my daughter studying online, and the fact that the feedback she gives, if a teacher, isn't engaging or isn't using the tools that she feels that they could do, then they're happy to give feedback. But yeah, I think we've stopped that steep learning curve, and now we're kind of hitting maybe a plateau of where teachers should be at with their online teaching, and that's really interesting to see. We don't want to no one wants to get left behind, and it's just the way we are today.
Good point. There's a great point here as well by Anna, saying that she was completely overwhelmed at the start. And like you said, just so much to take on board, but then a very steep learning curve. And I guess what comes now is trying to predict a time where it'll go down again, and trying to keep our kind of skills and what's going to happen next, I guess. And can you imagine? I mean, I'm a bit like the same doing all this online training. When we have to actually go back face to face, I'm not sure I'll be able to cope. I'm not sure how I'll feel about that. It'd be quite interesting, wouldn't it? But
I think I'm probably going to have to be strapped into a chair so that I just don't. I'm just going to go around and hug everybody and just talk. Yeah, it's a real challenge.
Good. All right. So yeah, lots of really interesting comments there, and I mean, like I said, we should also not forget about these positives and think about how we as sort of individuals, as teachers, have adapted and improved ourselves over this through these challenging times. But that said, there are still lots of persisting challenges globally, and also maybe especially here in Asia as well. What did you guys pick out as some of maybe the key challenges, and would you say they are connected to our teachers here in Asia? Let's go, Del in Bangkok. Challenges.
Del in Bangkok. So yeah, I mean, after every training session we do, and anybody that's been in a training session with me will know that we get feedback from teachers. It's very important that we find out how they're getting on and what we can do to help. So constantly, I would say the biggest challenge for teachers in Asia that I can see from feedback is down to down to infrastructure, and it's not something that we can really deal with, but it is. There are other ways around it, but it's like internet problems. So lack of internet, students' lack of internet, students' lack of laptops, studying at home, not having access to a computer, or maybe having to share with other members of the family. So all these issues with actual infrastructure are a real challenge. And then we have the usual perennial problems that we always have. Engagement is the key word for this year, I think, for me. Engagement with learners, and then maybe looking at how to make lessons fun, which kind of leans into engagement as well.
Okay, fantastic. All right, and we'll come back and have a look at some potential solutions to those ones as well. And actually, the infrastructure and internet connection is an interesting one, isn't it? And I'm just thinking, are there ways in terms of teaching strategies or methodologies, or how we approach lessons? Can we approach lessons in different ways to try and get around that? And we'll have a chat about that a little bit later. Engagement, obviously, I've lost count how many sessions you've done on how to engage learners in online teaching and learning. Super. Agree, disagree, anything to add?
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially like the infrastructure problem can lead to like class management like issues, or like motivation issues. So that can be put together maybe for one part. And the other part is how to like engage student, how to do interactions as we do in face-to-face lessons. And also what's the role of the teacher, how we like look at ourselves, the role in that classroom, in a virtual environment. And lastly, maybe the assessment, how to do like online assessment can be another challenge as well. Yeah, so basically these like challenges persist in Asia and also in a global context as well.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome back, Dale.
Yeah, good. All right. And again, lots of you guys sent in lots of your questions, and which could be sort of summarized as your kind of challenges as well. So yeah, certain aspects of class management. Obviously, engagement was there, motivation, fun, how to manage interaction, technology, the role of the teacher. How to move maybe to more independent learning, or what method or approach is most effective with online learning. And maybe you guys out there have tried out different ways, and by trial and error, I'm sure as well in many cases. Interesting one. What is a smooth lesson? What is an effective lesson? What does it look like, an effective lesson for online teaching, which is quite an interesting one. And obviously you mentioned assessment there, Super, as well. All right, well, let's have a look then at some potential solutions then for these challenges. So potential solutions to some of these common challenges. Where I'll leave it up to you guys where you want to pick up in terms of, which solution for which challenge. Super. Let's have a chat about a solution that you think might overcome one of those challenges.
Okay, sure. So I might want to start with some basics because teachers have like a class size issues or like a breakout room issues, and sometimes they have internet issues. So that's like quite fundamental. From this perspective, I think teachers can think about like introducing a flipped classroom model to their online classes or courses because we need to think about like what type of class you are going to have, how big is the class size, and what age group you are teaching, and how is the like hardware and software internet requirement would be like for your class, and what kind of risk level would be there for your like classes. So when we think about all these like all these factors, we need to choose like one type of lesson that can be like a feasible or applicable to your context. So for example, for students who don't have like very good internet connection, for classes that have like more than maybe 30 or 40 students, we need to think about maybe we can do synchronous classes plus asynchronous classes with maybe recorded like videos or audios for students to preview and review after class. So in this way, we can probably make the learning experience a little bit like a motivating, a little bit like smoother for the students and for the teachers as well. So for maybe recorded lessons, we can do like with no class size limit, no like internet connection issues, and it is good for like a language presentation. It's like receptive like a learning content for students, and that can be
I
used
guess they
for
can, and they can stop it and do it at their own pace as well, I guess, can't they? And
yeah.
Okay, we've got a lot of teachers that agree with you there as well. I think they're looking at recorded lessons, and like you said, the difference between maybe asynchronous and synchronous. We had one teacher that said that the cultural expectation. So some parents in some countries don't think that is the right approach. They think the teacher should be there talking for the whole 1 hour, right? And they think by doing those more kind of independent learning or flip learning tasks is not culturally appropriate, which is maybe quite a tricky one to overcome as well, and maybe we can pick up on that a little bit later. I'll come back to you again, Super, in a minute. Let's get a bit of input from Dale. Maybe you can either pick up from where you left off or add something new to that, Dale, in terms of a challenge and a solution.
Yeah, I think I think looking at asynchronous and synchronous learning it's a way to sort of help with that internet issues for sure. People can watch it in their own time, but we do have to be very conscious, like you said, of cultural issues, but also the demands, particularly with primary with learners and secondary learners, who the demands that it takes on parents to actually then become teaching assistants. and that takes a lot of strain. It takes strain on the parents in terms of their time, but also their energy to be able to then support their students. So I would I do find that a real challenge. The infrastructure, the internet is a very difficult one to solve. Engagement, though, I think is like, as you said, we've done loads of sessions on engaging learners online, and I think teachers just need to take a different approach, maybe in the way that they teach the lesson, and maybe break up the lesson a bit more than they would do in a face-to-face class, so that you're giving them chances to have breaks, and you're giving yourself a chance to have little breaks within the lesson, and also look at having set goals for each lesson, and maybe 3 or 4 goals, which could be your aims, and having these very explicit, and having everybody working together to achieve those aims and those goals, and ticking them off in some way. I know you in the past have used actual physical football goals and balls going in there to show that we've achieved something. And
so actually, can I ask a quick question, actually, and maybe our teachers in the chat box can answer that as well. And fundamentally, then, does your teaching approach change, or do the basics of teaching still very much apply?
I think the basics apply. To me, they do, for sure. I think when I'm thinking about planning lessons online, I'm thinking about how to judge whether my lesson is effective, and that is from achieving my aims. Engaging learners is difficult because sometimes they might not switch their cameras on, and not all that kind of the kind of stuff that teachers have to deal with. But I think going back to basics, the kind of things that you might use in a class. So I use things like this. So using the little name cards like this, and you move them along, and so that you're picking out someone to answer a question. So what this does, rather than having it popping up on the screen with a digital tool, the students are always looking out for the teacher to do something a bit more analog. So, you pick up their name and they have to read it. They have to be engaged with you in the screen all the time. So I love these kind of like little analog ideas that you bring to an online classroom. And one of the key elements as well, sorry to go on, and this will be my last point about engagement. You cannot engage your learners if you don't know who they are. So a needs analysis at the start of the course is essential. Now, if it's a primary, give it to the parents to fill in with them, but you have to conduct a needs analysis to find out what their interests are, not just their level of English, what their interests are, and what infrastructure they have, and what they might have challenges with. And by knowing that, you can then devise lessons that will be appropriate for them.
Brilliant. Okay, great. So knowing your students, and you mentioned sort of engagement there, and we've got a lot of people in the chat box as well talking about giving students more choice and voice, giving them a selection of activities and tasks, and getting them to choose what they want to do. But you still have your set goals, but give them a selection of tasks to choose from, a variety of synchronous, asynchronous. Dexter was saying something about pedagogical partnership. I'd love to hear more about that, Dexter. Please let us know if a little bit more about that. That'll be great. Some of them mentioned your discussion groups with the university students. University students, it sounds maybe a bit more mature, maybe as well, aren't they? You could put them into groups, and you maybe could trust them a little bit more to get on and do maybe someone mentioned a video task, which they then present back to the rest of the group. Super. And anything else in terms of challenges and solutions that you think would be relevant for our teachers today?
Yes, I think using a blended approach to put the right content to the right type of teaching approaches can introduce more variety to your way of teaching, and also can make your students more motivated. And in terms of engagement and interaction and motivation, I think still we do in face-to-face classes, we still need to use meaningful and motivating content and the tasks or projects to help your students be more motivated and participate into the learning. So at the same time, when we use tasks or projects, we can introduce more that we use digital tools to do. For example, if we're doing a task like interview someone to write a report, then you can use a video conferencing tool to interview someone to do that report. So to blend the digital tools together with your original tasks, original projects, and internet is like accessible for students while they're taking online classes. So that would be convenient and helpful. So still think about the meaningful tasks, the real life tasks that you use in face-to-face lessons,
Yeah.
and to connect them with internet. That would be a great way to motivate and engage.
Yeah, I think with the blended learning as well, I guess maybe I can ask Del this one as well in terms of whose responsibility is that? I mean, if you want to do blended learning, should that be like a school level communication to parents about this is the kind of approach that we're going to use and this is the expectation for students, this is what you need? It's quite difficult, isn't it, just for teachers to do that, and then if the students don't do it, it kind of falls apart a little bit. Like, where should that be in terms of the level of all the stakeholders, do you think, maybe Del, for sort of blended learning?
Yeah, I think that's probably an institutional decision to have some form of blended learning. And obviously, I think most institutions will prescribe the platform that they're using. I see some people are talking about using Class Dojo and that kind of thing. But generally, with teachers that I've been working with, they are they are prescribed the platform that they use, and their sort of recording systems as well are kind of done from an institutional point of view. And then teachers are kind of left to themselves to use whatever technology or whatever apps, as you would do in a face-to-face class, any methodology or any even in face-to-face, any technology that you might want to use to achieve your aims and achieve the aims of the curriculum, and then obviously moving on to the standardization of exams and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Obviously, there's so many other challenges and solutions that we could go on for hours and hours about. We kind of summarized all the questions and challenges that you put to us before the session. I think what we'll do, we'll go away maybe and try and add a link or a suggested solution to each of those points, maybe sort of share that document through blogs or vlogs a little bit later throughout the rest of the year. Just to finish off, I'd love to hear from you guys actually about what resources you go to. Where do you find your resources? So when you need ideas for online teaching, online training, or something you've seen recently that might help our teachers today would be great. What about you, Dale? I know you've been working with people like Russell Stannard on some webinars and things like that, and you're raring to go to share a few ideas.
Yeah, Russell Stannard. Maybe that could go in the chat, but Russell Stannard is kind of the guru. He's the go-to guy when it comes to anything with online teaching. He's got an amazing YouTube channel, which has got pretty much a step-by-step explanations of how to use the most popular teaching apps. And I really recommend people go to him. He did a great webinar for Macmillan recently, which I was the host of. So I managed to watch it. Actually, I watched it twice because I was the host twice. So I really got to know that his technology really well. But
give me an example. Give me an example. He did.
So my favorite example I gave is a program called WordWall. And I really love this. Wordwall.net. It's a really useful. It's really you can use it for so many different kind of tasks, and you can blend it with other platforms and other apps as well to use it effectively. Great for check. I mean, there's it's very difficult for me now to explain everything that goes on with WordWall, but it's a really cool tool. One thing I would say, though, to teachers is my advice is to find maybe 4 or 5 apps and get brilliant at using them. Become the best person to ever use that app or the best teacher to ever use it. And then rotate those apps. So I have like 5 apps that I use most of the time. So I use Padlet, WordWall, Mentimeter. I use a new one called Classroom Screen, and then maybe the platform that I'm using. And I'm an expert in all of them. And I know that I can keep going back to these and using them for different. So, because there's so much out there, isn't there? There's so many. It's hard to keep up. So I would suggest you get fantastic at 4 or 5 different apps and use them effectively.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much. Super. Where do you go? Any words of wisdom for resources or materials for our teachers?
Yes. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I actually attended a few courses about how to bring your teaching online. And these courses have been updated as well, during the last 2 years. And there are more courses from like Future Learn and Open Learn. So if teachers are interested to have a like comprehensive course to give you more like skills and strategies, I think you can go and have a check out there. Yeah, you will benefit from these courses of sure. Yeah,
Definitely.
we will share the links of these courses in the chat box. Yeah.
Okay. And actually on our, I think Macmillan English, isn't it? MacmillanEnglish.com. We have loads of webinars, blogs, resources. I think we have lots of, where do all those Kahoot quizzes sit? We got some Kahoot quizzes, don't we, for different CEFR levels, which teachers can use and do those quizzes with their students. They can be quite engaging. But loads of extra resources, and I encourage all of you to go onto that MacmillanEnglish.com website. Whatever your challenge might be, hopefully you'll find many solutions there. All right. We've covered a lot. Whoa, that's good timing. We've covered good classroom management, guys. Well done. Your teaching skills are still sharp as ever. We covered a lot of ground there. Hopefully, we refreshed a lot of key trends, issues, challenges. A few little extra sort of links and resources there. As I mentioned, check out Macmillan English website. One Stop English as well, loads of resources there for you guys as well, in terms of helping you sort of solve lots of those challenges. And what have we got coming up? We've got in November, episode 5, we'll be looking at large classes. And then around Christmas time, we'll be looking at a well-being special. A lot of teachers mentioned how they can help their students and themselves with their own well-being. So stay tuned for those upcoming sessions as well. So he's been Del.
She's been Super.
And he's been John.
Thanks for stopping by, Asia.
Stay classy, Asia.
Have a super evening. See you next time.
Thank
you for coming today.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.